All right, really appreciate everybody for jumping into this episode here. My name is Law Nation. We talk Cowboys football and beyond. And, of course, the offseason for us is already beginning. Nevertheless, Troy Aikman, he endorsed Dan Quinn. He feels that, hey, he will be better than Mike Nolan, basically. All right, so last year, Cowboys were, 28th in points allowed, right? That's a horrible stat. And 31st against the run and the collective defense. We were not dead last. We were not dead at the bottom last. We were 23rd. So there was a few other teams that was worse than us in the defensive category. But when we look at the complete picture for Cowboy standards, it was really bad. It was a horrible year for us. It was. No matter how you look at it, no matter where you can try to explain it, it was just a horrible year. Now, I do know that the pandemic played a major role, not a minor, a major role in that.
He ain't lying.
Now, we got to look at it like what Troy Aikman said. He always liked Dan Quinn. And on top of that, he felt as if though Dan Quinn from the Seattle land did a wonderful job. Now, that's a disclaimer. I have to look at it and contextualize it like, man, you had a Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, a Richard Sherman, Bobby Wagner, Big Maybane in the middle. So you had pieces. So what I'm trying to get at is, okay, we understand what happened over there in Seattle, and you try to replicate that over in Atlanta. And it's not me trying to beat a dead horse or what have you. But in order for this team to get things going in the right direction, we have to make the necessary investment. Now, looking at what the Atlanta Falcons did when his spell over there, we can say, okay, he did come in and he tried to make some implementations or improvements as it relates to the front. One can argue that their front been okay. It's cool. And Grady Jarrett, he was not a early round draft pick. I believe he was somewhere along the lines of a 5th round draft pick who elevated his game through teaching, coaching, and also hard work and dedication. I would not discount a person's heart and determination, right? Now we look at the safety aspect of it. They went and got some people in places and things like that. And trust me, when we look at this particular team, we can say, yeah, that's cool and all, but they had some epic, not small, but epic game decisions of losing big time leads, especially on the biggest stage of it all was the Super Bowl. Somebody can argue the fact that, man, they never recovered. They never recovered from that Super Bowl. They didn't. And that's the craziest thing of it all. When you get all of your emotions, when you get all of your feelings, when you get all of your pride, and it's snatched away from you, sometimes people never recover.
Fatality.
But there's nothing wrong with doing a self-inventory of yourself and looking back and saying, man, where do I need to improve? How can I better my best? And coaching or head coaching for Dan Quinn, he just never got back onto the horse the right and proper way. I will say that there's nothing wrong with it, but there's something wrong with it. Sometimes you have to step back in order to step forward. So hopefully, going over here to Dallas Cowboys, he can look at the landscape and say, okay, I need time. I need time to develop some guys. Also, I don't have time. So the quickest thing that he can do is through the draft or the free agency. What I'm trying to say is, Cowboy Nation, although Troy Aikman give this guy a wonderful praise and say, okay, yes, he can do these things, the Cowboys, for number one reason, still have to go back and make the necessary investments as it relates to the interior. We have to find a safety situation for this team. This draft is so crazy. We really don't know the full landscape of the draft. We can try to look at some tape. We can try to look at some things. But there are multitudes of scouts lamenting the fact that they really can't get a grab of what players are doing because of the pandemic, right? That still affects everything. We got a lot of guys that sat out for an entire year. And even those who played, who were to say that they played at their highest peak, basically, because of the pandemic. So this is more of, hey, in the first and the second round, you can probably swing and hit. But chances are in the third and the fourth and the fifth, where you really got to do your homework and dig deep into the film and dig deep into the scouting report, it's going to be harder. But that's what makes life, right? Nothing is given to you. I know some people say, hey, give me the cookie. Nah, it don't work that way. You got to figure things out. You got to grind. And on top of that, you got to understand. You got to understand what your team is all about. Like I said, we're 23rd in total defense last year. You're only as good as what your last year record was, right? So now you're only good as what your last year defense. So my thing is, how can we elevate from the 23rd position, collectively speaking, down to the 10th or the 9th? Or if we can just be solid around 13, 14. But there's room for improvement, right? So we got to really look into these players. We got to peel back the uncertainty with certain positions. We got to figure things out. Now, when we look at those things out there, we can say, well, Law, who in the draft that can be comparable or comfortable playing within inside the particular defense? Well, we can run our mock drafts. I ran a mock draft, and we had a chance and opportunity to get a Marvin Wilson late in the fourth. Or you can jump right into the third round and get a Jalen, from Pitt. I forgot his last name. Or you can jump way in between the first and the second and get a Christian Barmore. Not saying that these guys are going to be an impact immediately day one, but it's an investment. It's a piece that you can say, okay, now I want to see if they can complement the guys that we already got. And that's the Navell Gallimore. That's the Tristan Hill. Who knows? When coaches get their hands on certain players, man, some things can really change. But it takes time. Think about what I said earlier. Nobody saw Grady Jarrett. Nobody saw him in the fifth round. But Dan Quinn did. And he helped elevate the kid. So there's so many things that we can work out and try to iron out. But we're going to have to really figure this thing out. Cowboy Nation, I want to know how you guys feel about everything, especially heading into this draft or the free agency period. Will they find that one gem that can flip this team around? Will we do it by coaching from within? Will this Dan Quinn administration finally see, okay, this is what's going on with Tristan Hill? And one can say, well, Tristan Hill was on his way last season, right? But everyone have a reason, but results are what matter. And injuries are crazy. We can't count them. We can't say this is when this will happen. It's sporadic, right? So we will find out what this coaching staff can exhibit and exude. Post me your thoughts, post me your concerns down below, Cowboy Nation. Let's figure this thing out. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Salute.